to talk to Matt about what happened.
Okay.
You read that? Matt's right here. You guys begin?
It is 8:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have just finished up the trial. Sam is guilty on all counts. The verdict was read at 7:37 p.m. And Damien, Attorney General, just came out and gave his press conference. And as you can see, everyone is waiting for Cohen has put out a live press statement, and that is going to be out. So we'll wait for that. As we can see that everyone else is waiting for everything else to show. We will be here with that as that is going on. And as you can see, it is sort of the zoo of everything going on. Sort of somber moment. Looking at Sam's parents, sort of seeing how that touched them. It's a interesting day to take. So we're gonna go live with the rest of everything. Sort of just be effective thing. So we will see you. Thank you for joining.
It's big news when the Shark Tank doesn't show up. We're seeing they did it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Shoulder. His parents came up. They were still sitting in the pews, leaned over, kind of like it seemed visibly upset, but they weren't crying. And after Sam left the room, they were at the front row, and journalists were packed around them. I wonder about the jurors. Did you get any sense of their reaction and any of their facial expressions? It's been so hard to see the jury in some of these overflow rooms. What was it like in there? I mean, they're pretty stoic. And I think that a lot of people were surprised by the quick turnaround here in terms of coming back and with less than 3 hours of deliberation. And so as the poor woman read the verdict, I was looking for a reaction from the other jurors. People pretty much had a straight face. There was no big reactions. You could hear a pin drop in the courtroom. Like people in the pews weren't really reacting. So pretty somber ending to a very crazed few weeks. Was he led out of the courtroom too? And Sam Bankman-Fried's exit, I just wonder if you could tell at all, did it seem like he expected this outcome? There was a sense of inevitability in his reaction and that of his parents. You weren't seeing tears, and while they did seem upset, leaning over, there was no outsized reaction to what was going on. In terms of whether he was led out of the courtroom, there's a side room just to the, just by where the desk was for the attorneys. That's where Sam went afterward, and then journalists were let out of the room. I wonder your take. You've been covering this for so many weeks. Were you shocked at the velocity at which we got this decision today? Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was expecting this case to run until Thanksgiving. And then you saw the government curtail their list of witnesses. There was meant to be a rebuttal case brought by the government. Once the defense rested, they decided against that. Prosecution, a lot of their direct examinations, then the follow-up cross-examinations just went so much faster than anticipated. So we're wrapping up like 3 weeks earlier than people thought we would. Really shocking. It's all has happened so quickly. I wonder your take. It's been so interesting. I've been asked about some of the most shocking moments from inside the courtroom. Your reporting on CNBC.com has been incredible, and I feel like some of the moments that we have all been shocked by as reporters. I just wonder, in your past 4 weeks inside that courtroom, what were the big moments and what really stood out to you as the things you'll remember? I think it really was the first few witnesses that the government brought, so the people that were a part of Sam's inner circle, his ex-girlfriend and the former CEO of Alameda Research, Caroline Ellison. There was Gary Wong, his best friend from high school math camp. So someone who had been in his life for 15 years, co-founded these operations with him. And these are people who he cared deeply about, both in a personal and professional capacity, who turned on him. They made the government's case, and I think that very early on, the prosecution felt like things were moving in their favor, and that's perhaps why things moved more quickly. But I think that those moments of testimony from people who knew him best, who lived with him, who intimately knew him in a personal capacity, really just made this case. I think you're right. And I think one of the reasons why it did move so quickly is because they had those witnesses, and it does speak to the credibility, or at least in the eyes of the jury, that this went so quickly, Brian, that they were able to get to that decision so fast. One of the reasons he did testify, Brian, was to really get up there and speak for himself and try to convince the jury that he was truthful, but did not have criminal intent. And obviously the jury decided otherwise. We'll send it back to you, Brian. Yeah. I'll rely. Sure. Yeah, and so I'll send the question to Mac as well. That was a title of the chapter of one of Michael Lewis's chapters in his book, was just "Yup," and that was his signature response. "Yep," and we were saying internally that he almost needed to pronounce it "yep," because he would kind of, depending on the answer, do a long "yup." So Brian, since Mac doesn't have IFB, was asking about some of his responses in the courtroom. He would say "yup," and that was sort of a signature response. Brian's asking your take on kind of his demeanor, and then also just that in general, his signature "yup," and kind of how he responded to some of the government questions. Having you said it, it's a picture of Michael Lewis's reporting. Michael Lewis was actually in the. Are you sorry, Brian's got it. Yeah. Brian, kick her off. Give him IFB. I know. I'm sorry. All right, back to you, Brian. We're clear. Okay. No, you're okay. Okay. It's like, you might be, but
Okay, thank you.
great job.
Literally, Jason goes, Dawn, I need you on camera with Kate. And I go, I'm pregnant? No. Mac was also in the courtroom. Let me get her on camera. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Defense attorney. Everno? Wait, let me grab you. I'm gonna grab my phone. I'll be right back.
So as you can see, we have major publications, covering this, as it has been a, FTX had a huge impact, in the blockchain industry, taking on an aspect where, Sam was sort of very loud and in charge on, bringing out a big vocal point on, regulation. And so as we saw that sort of lay out, this sort of became a huge, kick in the face to a lot of people, a lot of politicians that, thought that they were doing something good in a way, something new and innovative in tech. And instead it was turned into a spit in the face almost. And so we're seeing a lot more backlash within the regulatory side, from Elizabeth Warren, from everyone else on that side, and a lot more scrutiny from the SEC, including, what we've seen, the SEC getting sort of some kickbacks both in, Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF, and most recently also with Ripple, with Judge Torres. And so now we're also seeing, the SEC taking on new attack vectors that, people have been wondering for a while why it hasn't happened, with SafeMoon getting served notice yesterday, being sued by the SEC. So we now are waiting for the defense's side, and we'll, sort of have those pieces. We have an interview with the parents later this week, and so just sort of it was a somber moment overall. Like we heard from, I think it was CNBC, it was a pin drop, and from the humanistic standpoint, sort of watching everyone, it was, the vultures leaning over, waiting for, an animal to die, waiting for, Sam and his parents to have a moment, and he sort of did the classic, but he did look back to his parents, and, tried to reassure him, as any son would do. But you can sort of see, the emotional movement piece on that, and so that was a very interesting piece to see. And so as you can see, if anything, the crowd outside has been growing for this. So as you can sort of see, everyone sort of shifted over and is waiting over more for the next presentation piece. We'll have Cohen's response up shortly, but this is where we'll be for a moment until all that closes down. So we'll be coming live. I shot a message in the group, and then I texted. I texted him personally, So yeah, but what I'm really afraid of is that like his shit, little chick for his electronics is in here. So, but
Oh, you know what? It's probably start keeping it.
Yeah. So I road prostitution.
Oh yeah, this is all the.
So this is now prosecution as we Sassoon is there as well as everyone else. Rose, whether or not they're going to be giving a follow-up press conference from their own point of view, recognizing their own work and the hard work that they put into this, and or if this is just time for them to go home, like as everyone else. But we will see. We're seeing the rest of the special agents and SAC that were the FBI agents involved with the case. That this was their case, and yeah.
I'm not famous.
And Tiffany Blanco, I mentioned, and you guys want any MOS or any corrections? Yeah.
as we finish this up, 5 weeks of this so far. No, we're on week 4, but we're on 5th week. So yeah, it has been an interesting piece so far. Seeing how it's gone. I don't think anyone was expecting the verdict tonight based off of the way things were going. But then one of the things where we could sort of tell where the jury was at was based on the questions, a couple questions for testimony that they had asked for. Rather interesting piece there. And we see some of the legal aids from the defense team and stuff like that and other support people. But it has been, a long piece, where we've been out here anywhere from, at midnight, seeing, in the rain, in the or early morning or wind. And, this last week has sort of been brutal. We've sort of all been catching up on sleep in weird hours and weird places. But it has sort of built up an interesting piece, and so there's been some really amazing articles written, check out Elizabeth's articles from The Verge, New York Times, Washington Post. Laura Shen has also done a lot of great content, so follow up on her. We will sort of leave this out, but we've also, great time with CoinDesk and the reporters and researchers from CoinDesk, as well as those from Blockworks, Wired Magazine, and Decrypt has also been out here. So it's been really interesting to connect with a lot of people, being out here every morning. But once again, these are the aides that have legal aids for the defense team.
Oh, yeah, we did. Get it out of my laptop.
And so, like we were saying, it has been, a long piece. We ended up, today getting here at, as I think the rain on Monday and the 40-degree weather sort of hit and killed everyone a little bit as we're getting here earlier and earlier as the crowds were getting bigger and bigger, as the case, and then, most people got here around 3 to 4 a.m. yesterday, and then this morning getting here at 4 a.m., being here all day. We'll have our notes and stuff like that as we go through our cast. But once again, it was guilty on all 7 counts. Wire fraud to customers, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, customers, conspiracy to commit wire fraud on investors, conspiracy to commit wire fraud on lenders, committing conspiracy to commit wire fraud on commodities, conspiracy to commit wire fraud on securities, and then a 7th charge that was tied to charge 1, money laundering charge as well, which they found both as a wire fraud and a 10,000 plus. So that it was a hidden, deceiving charge of wire fraud as well as overt. So we'll have a breakdown of all of that stuff later on. One of the big things that Kaplan has done this entire trial was sort of commend and honor the jury for everything. I did not catch the name of the judge of who he quoted, sort of saying that jury service was supposed to be an unthanked service. Is a rite of passage for citizenship and part of being a part of society. But Kaplan sort of disagreed with that. He also stated that the jury worked hard, and he recognized the effort and notes and the questions that they put in. And one of the things that he did acknowledge to them was the fact that they learned an entire new industry. As the crowd, the jury was 18 people that didn't have any experience in blockchain, and so there will always be questions. A jury of your peers, and if none of them had any interactions with blockchain, are they truly part of jury of your peers? But at the same time, one of the questions that can be asked is in blockchain is, we're wanting blockchain to be used by all. So whether they're in it now or they will be in it, they are technically our peers, and that's one of the faults that we've had in blockchain, and we continue to have, within our lexicon. We almost become elitist in a way, and one of the things that we sort of really talk about, with the verbiage and stuff like that, which was even having to be explained to the jury what fiat is. And how often in blockchain do we try to lay out the difference between what fiat is and digital currency, but digital data as well, and ownership. And so it's one of those things that we may see a big difference on. And so that is how we see it be. And but one of the really sort of humanistic moments, was just sort of, over the last couple of days. How much the atmosphere's changed since it was, the prosecution finished their closing, then the defense finished their closing, and because the burden of proof is on the prosecution, they have a chance for rebuttal, and a lot of things that we talked about this morning was, Cohen, Sam's defense attorney, leading the closing yesterday, how much it might have swayed people, with even a couple jurors tearing during it and stuff like that. And so whether that was, tears out of they felt the weight of what they were doing and the choices they were having to make. They were moved by the story of Cohen, talking about Sam, as a awkward math nerd, high school student, and or the aspect of, as Michael even tried to, Cohen even went as far as to lighten the mood, agreeing that Sam was the worst dressed CEO ever. One of the things that there was a lot of aspect on is, how the social media tour that Sam went on. And I knew it was up there. I'd been in a couple spaces with him. So I knew it was a regular occurrence, but with, I think, Cohen saying over 57 apparent, times that like Sam went on different shows, talking about what he, everything with FTX and customer funds. And that was one of the hardest things where FTX sort of laid a lot of groundwork, where a lot of exchanges are very vague on the relationship between the customer and the exchange. FTX sort of set that standard. I was not a user of FTX because I had major dislikes with Alameda and the way Alameda sort of did a lot of the market making pieces over the last couple of years, and that was sort of my personal piece on it. But as a whole, we saw, and here comes part of rest of the defense piece and rest prosecution, and let's go there. Prosecution, as well as special agents and the clerks from the prosecution side. And we got to thank the amazing news cameras out here that have some great beam lights that allow us to see things without our little camera light. And so, but where that big difference was, FTX and Sam sort of, there's two ways a lot of project founders go. They either go sort of in the shadows, or they go as bold and bright as they can, to sort of hedge off scrutiny, or not hedge off scrutiny, but get ahead of it. And that was one of the things that Sam really tried to do, and unfortunately it was with, as determined by the jury, with customer funds used to get into the rooms with politicians, to being in front of Congress and the Agricultural Committee for the CFTC, as well as in having celebrity endorsements through brand marketing, which was also determined by the jury to be used with consumer funds. So it was a very interesting piece all the way around, and so we'll see how that will go all the way around, and whether or not this leads out to something new. So we will be here as you see, some of the great, people on all sides. Over there we have Axios Grady, as well as DeFi Llama. We have over there CoinDesk. We have Wall Street Journal, the Post, the Journal, and we are waiting for Bellamy from. And over there we have Laura Shen, who does a great podcast. She pulls out a lot of great information, and Laura Shen does a great show with a lot of founders and technical pieces. Give her a great piece, but a lot of interesting people. We also have, even on the sports aspect, we have Katie from The Ringer, putting out some amazing article pieces, and we've seen, got to hang out with a lot of amazing people and journalists. And so here is the defense attorneys now.
Okay, right. Sully, we're getting
It's gonna be same thing I sent out, three
Sullivan,
sentences,
guys.
no questions.
Okay, guys.
End up in front of me.
We respect the jury's decision. We're very disappointed with them. Very disappointed with the outcome.
Hey, Brian, you can see. Okay.
As we see the classic question pieces from
Everdell as well. That was Mark Cohen, and just they're logging out as well as the spokesperson, Mark Botnick. But we did get essentially the same statement that they said we're going to keep fighting this. Did not mention an appeal specifically, but we do expect that to be the next step here. But that's the latest from the defense team. We are also waiting for Sam Bankman-Fried's parents to potentially leave the courtroom, as well as the jurors. We don't know if they left through a side entrance or the back here, but really at this hour, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. This is the only entrance that's open at this point. So anybody leaving the courtroom, we do expect to come out of this entrance here, including potential jurors. They were offered a car service. So we've got an eye out here. But the latest was that defense team, Brian, and we'll bring you any updates. But there's also, I should say, there's a press gaggle out here. There is a group of journalists that have been covering this day in and day out. There's a lot of camaraderie among the group here, but they've been here all day inside that courtroom. So a ton of journalists among the crowd here, Brian, but we'll bring you any updates together.
CNBC coming to us live. So this is sort of what we get to see behind the scenes a little bit about how everything, as we saw Cohen's team leaving, everyone's sort of chasing him out.
You basically pick up. What's going on? Or like your things are going to go off. Okay.
So as we've seen, sort of been the end piece of everything, and it has been an interesting trial to say the least. We'll be coming with Taco Bites, Daily Bite of DGen later on, with the full rundown for it. We actually
Okay.
have the New York Times reporter's bag, so we need to get him his personal property back. But as you can see, they are shutting the front door, and that is because the jury got private car service, which came and exited through their side ramp. And so this is where we will see. Hope everyone has a good night, and if anything new comes, we will let you know, and we will see you on the flip side. Once again, as you can see, everyone laid out and ready. Hey, can you hit up David in the chat?
Can you do what?
Can you hit up David in the chat? Let him know I have his stuff.
Okay.
Oh,
David. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can grab it.
I think some of them are. I'm not at the moment, but I will eventually. Probably, maybe.
Dude, let me on this shit.
Yeah.
Everyone have a good night. We'll see you later.